In the interest of time, we'll be keeping this presentation to about 15 to 20 minutes with a short Q&A session at the end. Feel free to type in any questions that you have in the chat box during the presentation. If we don't have time to get to your question at the end, we will be replying to all submitted questions via email. And lastly, please take advantage of the link in the chat box where you can view all Primal products on our website and save 20% off your purchase tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Regional Training Manager for Primal Pet Foods, Joseph Amato. Joseph, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dwight, for that. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here. We do appreciate you guys joining with your busy schedules. And so we're going to just jump right into this here. So a little bit about myself. Like Dwight mentioned, I'm the Regional Training Manager here on the West Coast. I've been with Primal almost 6 years. So it's really dear to my heart working here at Primal and kind of understanding the benefits of raw feeding. So today we're going to go over more about Primal and why somebody would choose to feed a fresh food for our pets. So first things first, I like to talk about how Primal got started in the industry. So very important to understand in the early 2000s, our founder, Matt Koss, was experiencing some ailing moments with his dog Luna, where he wanted to really focus in and figure out the best method for his dog. And so he was going to certain veterinarians, they were trying prescription foods and all these medications, and nothing was really working. Well, after figuring out, there's got to be something better. And so he was actually a culinary art chef where he was able to take his knowledge of food and team up with holistic veterinarians to fully come up with Primal, which, with those healing benefits of that food is always so important. And so he actually started Primal Pet Foods in San Francisco in 2001. And we have been able to, become global as of now. So it's really awesome, to see what food can do at firsthand, especially for Matt Koss, as he, designed this for his own dog, Luna. Now, a lot of us as pet parents, we kind of, think to ourselves, well, why would I feed raw? What are the benefits of raw? Well, if you think about it, our pets are designed to eat and break down raw meats. Now, when we think about that, I like to think of our pets as carnivores with more of a kind of tendency to be an omnivore. However, when looking at a raw diet and looking at the anatomy of our pets, we know that this is 100%, nearly 100% digestible for our pets. It's what their bodies are designed to be breaking down. Also, something that I always like to say is it's biologically appropriate. Our bodies, our dog's bodies, teeth, stomach, intestinal tract, all of that is intended to consume raw meats. Their teeth are sharp like scissors. Their jaw is a hinge jaw for ripping, shredding, tearing. They are lacking a digestive enzyme in their mouth to help break down, carbohydrates, so on and so forth. So when we look and understand of a raw diet, we know we're going to have clear eyes. We're not going to have all of that gunk buildup from those carbohydrates. We're going to have better oral health because at the end of the day, none of those carbohydrates are sticking to their teeth. We're going to have that healthier weight. We're going to, be able to digest the majority of all of those foods and nutrients. Healthier skin and coat. All those omegas and everything are going to be absorbed appropriately. And then what's always really nice is when you're out in the backyard picking up your dog stools, we're going to have a reduced amount of that volume of stool because once again, our pets are absorbing the majority of that food. So those are just a few things as to why somebody could and would be feeding raw food and why it's so important. Now, a couple people may ask, well, I may feed a different brand and my dog is doing great on it. And that's perfect. We love to hear that. However, we always recommend rotation, rotation, rotation. So why would somebody want to choose Primal for their pet's food? And so, as a pet parent myself, it is very important that my pets are consuming something that I know is safe for them, also safe for my handling, and something that is going to give them the nutrients that they need and, of course, deserve. So at Primal, we actually don't use anything synthetic. We are using whole foods, vitamins, oils, and seeds for those actual, I'm sorry, let me try that one more time. We're using produce, fruits, vegetables, oils, and seeds to give us our vitamins and minerals in a natural form. So rather than using a synthetic vitamin pack that even us as humans, our bodies don't always recognize, we want to make sure that these vitamins and minerals are given in a form that our pets' bodies recognize as well. All of our meats that we are using are responsibly sourced, ethically sourced, no antibiotics, no added hormones, as well as no steroids. So, very important human edible meats. And then the last thing is all of those produce, fruits and veggies that we are using, they are certified organic. So there is not going to be any of those pesticides. And then obviously none of those specific like herbicides and stuff like that. So really important. And then we're going to get to the quality and the safety in just a moment. But I like to talk about the ingredient panel here. This ingredient panel is very clean. We can look at this and we can say, oh, wow, I can read all of these items here, which is very, very beneficial for us and really reassuring to us as pet parents that we know what is being given to our pets. Now, we have a few different varieties of different options for our complete and balanced meals. We have our freeze-dried pronto, and then we have our frozen pronto. Now, pronto is a quick, easy scoop and serve, very convenient. If you've got that busy work schedule, maybe you've got somebody that is babysitting your dogs for you. It's just something easy, scoop it, serve it, very simple. We also have our nugget format that is in freeze dried, as well as our frozen nugget format. Now, those are medium-sized dogs, sometimes a little bit more prep time. That frozen, you can meal prep in the refrigerator up to 5 days, so you can scoop it and serve when it's time for feeding. That freeze dried, I love using it as a nice little topper. I even use it when I go on hikes with my dogs. Nice little, snack that isn't full of a carbohydrate, things like that. And then for our larger breed dogs, or even those pet parents like myself who have multiple dogs, I like using the patties. The patties is you're going to get the most for your money out of there. It's very convenient to put those in that reusable container in the refrigerator, portion it out, and serve when thawed. That once again will last in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. So using those patties is kind of the best for your money. Now let's talk about that safety. Now, I know myself as a pet parent, when I first heard of a raw diet for my pets, I was not sure about where to start. A lot of pet parents, we tend to, think, oh, well, let's just go to the grocery store and let's just buy grocery store meats. However, those meats in the grocery store are intended for you and I to cook before consuming. So way different, controls of pathogens and things like that, where raw pet food, there's actually a zero tolerance policy that's in place to make sure that there is no salmonella, listeria, and or E. coli present in that food. Now, it's up to each and every one of those brands to make that decision on what they would like to do to make sure it's clear of pathogens. So at Primal, we do a few different things. Not only is our facility a USDA, approved facility, everything is swabbed, cleaned, amazing. Overall, what am I trying to think of here? Cleaning sanitation steps that we have in place, but also with the product itself. So we do a few different things. The first thing we do, which you may have seen at the very bottom of the ingredient panel here, that wants to, there we go, is that liquid lactobacillus. Now, those are probiotics. Now, typically when we think of probiotics, we think of gut health. However, these particular blend of probiotics is essentially creating an army, and it's going to kind of fight off and consume resources of bad bacteria. The next thing that we like to do is an HPP process, stands for high pressure processing. Now at Primal, what we do is we do a cold water bath that is squeezing and applying a ton of pressure that's bursting those single cell organisms. So we do that with all of our foods. Now keep in mind, this is not cooking the food. At Primal, it is a cold water bath. Now, the last thing that I love to talk about is our third-party test and hold. So we are taking multiple samples of every single one of our foods, and we are sending it to a third-party laboratory. Now, they are the experts. They are the ones that are going to go through everything and make sure that it's all clear of those pathogens before it leaves our facility and ends up with you guys over at Centinela. So really, really important to understand the safety steps that are put into play at Primal is top notch. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I started feeding Primal to my dogs about 9 years ago. So really, really exciting to see that we've been able to evolve and then continue to do all those important safety steps. Now, a lot of people may think, this just seems like a lot of work, or I don't know if I can do all of these things. So we understand, we get it. We don't want anyone to be overwhelmed or anything like that. So we're not going to encourage you guys to change your dog's food or your cat's food, but we're going to encourage addition because we know that adding fresh food goes such a long way for our pets. Us as humans, we eat our spaghetti for dinner, or we eat our processed whatever for dinner, but we still have fresh food alongside of that. And so that's what we want for our pets at Primal, is toppers and hydrators are making it very easy and very simple for us to add that fresh food. And so we've got a few different items here on our screen. We've got our raw toppers, we have our frozen bone broth, our goat milk, and then we have some fresh toppers that have some extra little benefits there. Now, for any of you pet parents that may go, oh, my dog's got skin and coat issues, these are some kind of items that we can choose for our pets. That balanced base, right? We're going to get those omegas, that fresh food, that moisture, those enzymes. That's a great way to start. You can also add in that Omega Muscle Fresh Toppers. That's full of omega-3, omega-6, along with our natural source of that glucosamine from that wild-caught muscle, or even our frozen bone broth that is slowly simmered. So all of that collagen is found in that actual bone broth, that nice gelatinous texture. Now, maybe your cat or your dog has a very sensitive stomach. I know my dog personally does as well. So I love utilizing, obviously, that balanced base as that go-to. But for any of those pet parents out there, though, if any of you guys use canned pumpkin, maybe your pet loved that pumpkin, got that pretty much of a, digestive upset every now and then. We have another option of that awesome squash fresh topper. That's going to include probiotics, pork bone broth, chia seeds, amazing source of that soluble fiber. And then last but definitely not least is our pumpkin spice goat milk. Obviously, pumpkin, meaning we definitely have that extra support for that digestion, but goat milk in general is a great source of hydration. Ginger, cinnamon, turmeric for that gut health altogether, and then that moisture plus with that pumpkin. So any of these items are a nice little go-to for any of those pets that have that sensitive stomach. Now, how do we build a bowl with those items? So we always say start slow. Get into it, understand why you're giving it, right? And what we're going to say is start with 1/3 of your pet's bowl, fresh or raw food. So start small. You can use any balance base that you choose that your pet loves, right? Whether it be a primal product, another raw product, or even a kibble or a canned product. But then start introducing little by little to boost that bowl. So really important to, like I said, start slow. And one thing that I always like to say and really kind of quiz everyone here is what fresh food are you adding to your pet's bowl? Last but definitely not least, we understand that all of us pet parents, we can't always feed 100% raw. We get it. However, 100% of our pet parents should be feeding some type of raw or fresh food. Your pets will thank you in the end, and that's what matters. We do this because we love our pets and we want the best for them. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to turn it back over to Dwight.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Joseph. Really appreciate it. And let's see. So we have, we've got some questions here for you. The first one is, how should I transition raw food into my dog's diet?
Great question. So we always say start slow. We say start with 1/3 of that food, slowly introduce, maybe even add it as a topper, especially if your dog has a sensitive stomach. Add a few little pieces of that pronto on top, or take a nugget and give little pieces at a time. So we would say over like a 2-week period of time is kind of the best go-to for that transition, but do about 1/3 of the bowl at a time.
Good. And what about feeding raw food for cats and finicky cats in particular? How does that go over?
Yes, that's always a fun one. So our kitty cats, they are what we would call an imprint eater. So they are imprinted as they're very, very young, what is safe for them. So we call it the 3 T's: taste, temperature, and texture. If you know that your cat likes to eat a crunchy food, well, then we're probably going to want to start off with freeze dried. If we know that your cat likes chicken, stick with chicken. And if we know that your cat likes more of a room temperature, make sure there's no cold water or anything added. And we like to call it a sneak attack with our cats. You have to be very, very, very sneaky. A couple of tips and tricks that I've used over the years is for our canned food customers that like to add or looking to switch over to raw or add raw, we say add a little pronto piece, one little piece at a time, slowly introduce. Something else that you can do with a freeze-dried nugget is you can tie a string around it and play a game. Our cats are natural hunters, so they're going to naturally swat at that and want to play with it. You can also put that freeze-dried nugget into a brown paper bag. I think we all know our kitty cats love boxes and those bags. So you can always put that in there as well. Once they know, oh, this is something I can play with, and then they get a little bit on their paws, they know it's safe for their consumption.
Interesting. Good tips for cats. All right. So next question. We just added primal greens as a topper. What else should we consider?
Well, awesome for adding the power greens to the bowl. I would say goat milk is a really, really fun one. My dog loves goat milk. You can also take them and put them in little ice cube trays. You can give them as little frozen treats as well, but I'd say goat milk is a nice addition. But if you're looking for more of a meaty kind of addition, I would say definitely the freeze-dried Pronto is a very easy way to start adding fresh food and then adding that meat content in there as well.
Great. Next question. Let's see. How does raw diet depend on either the breed or size of the dog?
That's a great question. So typically, no, right? If we look at all of the anatomy of our pets, whether we have a little Yorkie or we have a massive Great Dane, the insides are all the same, right? So they're still going to be digesting everything accordingly. Now, obviously, you would feed less and then feed more, but no matter the size of breed, it doesn't matter, especially with Primal, because it's all for all breed sizes. Which is always really important to keep that in the back of your head.
All right, sounds good. And we have another question. Is raw food good for digestive issues?
Absolutely, it definitely can be. It is a lot easier on the digestive system. However, I will always make this kind of disclaimer. If your pet, has a super sensitive stomach and they are seeing a veterinarian for that, we always would recommend to consult your veterinarian. But definitely a lot easier for our pets to digest than any sort of highly processed food.
Great. And we'll just finish up here with one last question. My Cocker Spaniel seems to have ongoing ear infections. Are these foods that I'm feeding could be worsening it? And if there are other foods to help introduce, these foods will help that.
Absolutely. And that's actually a pretty common question that I get, and I'm sure staff over at Centinela get, is ear infections, yeast infections, things like that. It could be a multitude of different things, but food can 100% be a culprit of that. My biggest recommendation is eliminating as much processed food, eliminating as much of those heavy starches as possible, and introducing fresh food. Any pets with allergies, I would recommend starting off with the goat milk and the Power Greens fresh topper. Those greens are really beneficial for kind of cleansing the blood and kind of getting things moving appropriately, and then eliminating as many of those heavy carbohydrates as possible.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for the Q&A session for tonight. And again, I'd like to thank Joseph for coming on out and spending some time with us. And I want to thank everyone for showing up here. And we'll be doing more of these in the future. So be on the lookout in your email inboxes or on social media. If you do not currently receive our emails, be sure to sign up for information on our website, where you can save on your favorite products and learn about upcoming events. Our website is centinelafeed.com. I've also posted the link again in the chat box where you can view all Primal products and save 20% off your purchase tonight. Thanks again for showing up, and we look forward to seeing everyone again soon. See you later.